What is going on? It is a cold, frigid day here in Georgia, and we actually got some snow last night, some flurries. But as you can tell, there's really nothing on the ground. It was just kind of passing through. But it is a milestone when it comes to ownership of a vehicle. We are at a quarter of 100,000 miles, and that is 25,000 miles on the odometer. And we're at like 24,708 miles. So I thought it would be an excellent opportunity because the Rangers are really kind of growing in popularity. They're becoming a solid choice. Now that they've been in the market for a while, maybe you can pick one up used. So if you're considering a used 2019 or 2020 Ranger, you've come to the right place, just because I feel like a lot of, and I've watched a lot of reviewers take on the Ranger and, kind of talk about, they can read the spec sheets to you. They can read, basically, the brochure, right? Which is great. They might do a few off-road tests. They might do some, they might do a simple, like, side-by-side comparison off-roading with, another type of vehicle. But when it comes to long-term questioning of, like, how the systems work, when the newness wears off, because whenever you buy something new, whether it be like a phone or whether it be like, just a new device or a new vehicle, after the newness kind of goes away, the issues or like the quirks of ownership kind of show their head. And, a lot of times people, like, they don't have an issue with it. They're like, oh, I'll just deal with it and just kind of move on from it, and then enjoy the ownership experience of the vehicle, or they'll trade it in for something else. So if you're new to my channel, on my main page you will see a build walk around. This is not the video where I'm going to talk about what's done to the truck. I'll do a quick overview in a second, but check out that video. I will leave a link to that in the description for the full build walk around. If you're having some issues finding it, check that out. And if you want to come back, feel free to come back and watch this. So with that being said, when it comes to the ownership experience, you're on the forums, I'm on the forums. I see a lot of what other people complain about when it comes to the ownership experience of the Ranger versus my personal experience. And, with any type of new vehicle, some are going to have issues. Some people are going to complain about something that, like, I have not experienced. So this is purely based on my 25,000 miles on my Ranger. So let's go ahead and begin. One of the biggest complaints I think that I see very often are the brakes. And to give you an idea, like, I have hit my brakes really hard. I want to say 4 to 5 times I can count. I'm talking about brake pedal straight to the floor, activated ABS to try to avoid a collision. And it has stopped perfectly. Like, I have never had an issue with that. But the biggest complaint that people tend to complain about on the forums and just overall driving experience is the brakes being a little soft. They're kind of like, if you're used to a sports car or like the Mustang with the 6-piston brakes, when you tap the brake pedal, especially on a performance pack Mustang or something, it bites really hard and it stops you really fast. With the Ranger, you tend to have to give it a little more gas, You have to give it a little more brake pedal. It's almost like stepping into a little bit of mud, if that makes sense. It's not the most ideal brake pressure, but it works. You get used to it after a little bit of time. Some people complain. A lot of people are like, well, when I'm at a stoplight, I put my foot on the brake and there's not enough pressure and it starts rolling. I think I got out of that phase where I would come up to a stoplight like we're coming up to now, and I would be sitting there at a dead stop, and I would feel like my foot's on the brake, but I'm starting to roll because I'm not applying enough pressure. I got over that. I apply a little bit more brakes. Whatever, not that big of a deal. So yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest things that I see. The other is like the sound. You hear my truck now, and if you follow my channel, you noted that I deleted the resonator, the big resonator sitting under the truck. I went ahead and removed that. We still have the muffler on there. Just cut the resonator out, cut a little bit of weight off the truck. It is a 2.3 liter out of a Focus RS. So it is a 4-cylinder. So you're not going to get like a V6. You're not going to get a V8 sound out of it. There is no muffler in this world that is going to make your 2.3 liter sound really aggressive. With that being said, I don't really floor the truck a lot. It very rarely sees high RPMs like a Focus RS would, or like an EcoBoost Mustang. On the low revs, the truck sounds pretty decent. It's not terrible, but yeah, it's not a V6. The direct injection is kind of loud. If you've ever had a direct injection vehicle, you'll know that the injectors fire really loud. They fire really loud when it's cold. It's not a super pleasing sound. A lot of people complain about it on the forums. To me, it's not that big of a deal. As long as there's nothing wrong, and that's just a natural thing, I am fine with it. It's not that big of a deal. It's just something I tend to deal with. So let's talk about the next thing. The stock suspension shocks. The shocks of the stock Ranger are absolutely garbage. The FX4 shocks are absolutely garbage. They are not great shocks. It's easily fixed, and in the 25,000 miles we've owned our Ranger, we replaced the suspension pretty quickly. We had a leveling kit for a while, which was awful. It'll make the stock shocks feel even worse. We went from that to an iBox system, and I have an iBox review posted up. And moving from that stock suspension, it completely changed the truck. It feels a lot better. It looks a lot better. And then, you know, that kind of brings me to my next point, are the looks of the truck. So when you buy a brand new, and when it comes to looks, it's kind of like beauty's in the eye beholder. Like, some people love the way the Ranger looks when it's bone stock. I'm not one of those people. When it came to looks, I felt obviously the Gen 3 Tacoma looks absolutely fantastic. I love the Gen 3 Tacoma looks. It looks great out of the box. You don't really have to do much to it. But the Ranger has this like weird, just really aggressive rake for towing. I mean, it can tow 7,500 pounds, so it has a nice aggressive rake. Well, nice to some, not so nice to those that like a leveled out look. But when you get a Ranger, when I first got this Ranger, felt like it was just like a fleet truck. Like, it was like a work truck. It wasn't, I even feel like stock F-150s just looked to me better than the Ranger did bone stock. It needed more muscle to it in terms of like a wheel and tire and suspension, and some flares maybe. It needed something to bring it up to where it looks badass, if that makes sense. We did the 1552s with 265s, which I would have gone with something bigger than a 265 if it would have cleared on the leveling kit, and it didn't. There was an issue with the tire being so close to the spindle that I couldn't go any higher than 265, so I stuck with the 265s. Ultimately, I went with a 295 Milestar Patagonia, and the 295 Milestar Patagonia is like close to a 34, and that worked out great with the iBox system, so we kept that, and now we're on 35s. So, with that being said, I feel like the Ranger looks a lot better with a lift. My buddy James has a lift and 34s on his. They look absolutely, he has my old 34s. They look absolutely fantastic. He has a set of methods on there. He has the iBox suspension. Looks great. Looks awesome. So it's a very simple fix when it comes to the looks department as far as I go. And probably you, if you're watching this YouTube trying to get some ideas on mods for your Ranger, I think the absolute must mods for anyone that gets a Ranger and wants it modified is at least an iBox suspension system, if that's in your price range, or better, right? Like we're on Kings right now, and the truck rides absolutely fantastic. A lift, a good solid lift with a shock, and a good wheel and tire goes a long way with the Ranger. A lot of people complain that I've noticed is the vibration of the truck at speed. So let me get it up to speed a little bit. We are at, my speedo's slightly off, so we're about 55 miles an hour. And if you can look at my phone's really not vibrating. Like there's bumps in the road, but you can take a look, it's not shaking. The chair's not shaking. You know how some people post pictures of their chair and it's like wobbling all over the place? My truck, my Ranger, rides completely fine with long travel suspension, King shocks, 35-inch mud tires, and you can hear that the truck isn't really making a lot of noise, or there's not a lot of drama driving it down the road. Now, obviously, I attribute that to good quality engineering from parts from APG. Like I said, if you haven't watched my walk around video, do yourself a favor, watch that walk around, get to know APG Performance. They are the company when it comes to control arms, basically systems that are just, you buy all the parts from them, install them, and you're gonna have a badass truck. APG is the way to go. Without sounding too much like a commercial, because I love their products so much, I'm running their APG long travel system with upper control arms, lower control arms. I got different CV axles, different tie rods, and the truck rides fine. I have no issues with any sort of like vibration or whatever. So now that's not saying that certain trucks might have an issue from the factory, where there is a TSB that's out, that if you have a stock truck and you are getting some sort of driveline vibration, you can take it to the dealership and they will service it and do the warranty work to do the shimming on the drive shaft and to get it to stop vibrating. I really don't have that problem. As you can tell, my ride is just as good, if not way better than the stock suspension that was originally on this truck. So the other thing that people tend to talk about is when they do have an issue with the Ranger. Like I've had a few friends that have had AC compressors go out, or their AC's just gone out completely, which completely sucks. You know, my 2015 Ford Mustang I had for 6 years almost, and I never had a problem with it. And then some people said they had issues with the AC. Knock on wood, we've had no issues with the truck. We've just putting the best gas we can find in it, and I maintain it with oil changes every 5,000 miles. I run synthetic. I could probably run it longer. Sometimes I have ran it longer just because we've gone on trips. But we've had a great, fantastic experience with the truck. But with that being said, some folks do not have a great experience. They might have an AC that goes out. And the issue that a lot of Ranger owners that are having issues here in 2020 with their Rangers is a parts shortage, whether it be transmission related or AC compressor related or some sort of part. There seems to be like a long shortage because of COVID or whatever on getting replacement parts. Now, as the trucks are out a little bit longer, that waiting period to get replacement parts is not going to be a problem. But when it comes to longevity and reliability of the Ranger, one of the biggest things is that I looked at Focus RS reliability, and after they fixed the issue with the incorrect head gasket on the Focus RS when they first came out, the Focus RS has been a reliable vehicle. The 10R80 transmission is in the new Mustangs, and the new 10R80 has been holding up pretty well. Obviously, if you're pushing more than the 700-800 horsepower. They have been having some issues with the clutch packs, but you're in a Ranger, you're not going to be really pushing 700-800 horsepower. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much these can typically handle before things start breaking. Now, there could be issues. You could buy one and you just have bad luck and you got one 10R80 that has issues. Obviously, if you're shopping around, you want to shop around and test drive it and make sure it shifts properly and make sure it doesn't have any problem shifting. If it bang shifts, or and I've heard of some people say, well, yeah, when it comes out from reverse to drive, it kind of hits really hard. It bang shifts. I haven't had that issue. I will say if you are a new Ranger owner and you have a brand new Ranger, give it a couple thousand miles to learn your driving style. If you can tell, I'm driving it right now and it drives absolutely great. It doesn't have any problem shifting. If you don't want it to skip shift, you can just toss it into sport mode. I use sport mode quite a lot when we are up in the mountains and we're on twisty roads and I don't want to be on my brakes all the time. We switch it to sport mode so I can engine brake coming down hills. You see the transmission, it shifts absolutely fine, so I don't have any problems with it. So yeah, that kind of covers most of what I wanted to talk about as far as like our ownership experience. I do maintain the truck. Every oil change that I take to my technician that works on the truck, we tighten all the suspension bolts, we check everything, we check the brakes, we check to see if we notice any type of leaks, any type of issues, right? And I think a lot of people don't do that. When you do off-road your truck, you can't expect to off-road it constantly and not do any type of maintenance to it or any type of preventative maintenance and expect it to never have a problem. Off-roading a vehicle is very taxing on all the components. Everything from the powertrain to the drivetrain, or the suspension bolts and components, and everything needs to be retorqued properly. I would say it's almost more intensive than on-road vehicles, just because you are on-road and you are off-road and every which way in between. You could do higher speed driving off-road, you could be doing low speed crawling stuff. All of that stuff combined will add up to more wear and tear on your vehicle. So I have not heard of any type of catastrophic failures on the forums of any of the Rangers. I've seen a couple that said that they had a CV problem. They snapped the CV. One of the guys that said he snapped the CV, I saw the same video, he rolled his Ranger on its side. So I can't really say that, I'm sure he's beating the crap out of it. Something probably happened. Who knows? That's just kind of one of those things. But I think that is definitely the minority of folks that actually own this. But when it comes to an overland rig, what can I say? It is a fantastic size for a mid-sized truck. If you sit in the new Tacomas versus the new Ranger, you're going to notice that there's a lot more space in the Ranger in the cab. It's a little bit more of a comfortable driving experience. The 10R80 with the turbo is plenty of power for me to drive with 35s. The transmission shifts great for me. Don't really have any problems. Obviously the biggest thing that I talked about earlier was like the brakes could be a little bit firmer. But outside of that, we have had a wonderful 25,000 miles. We have gone to California and back. We have gone to Colorado and back, and we have done countless trips to North Georgia, and soon we're going to be heading up to Tennessee. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or comments, or you're kind of considering a Ranger, I hope this helped you out, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think Ford's gonna continue updating the Ranger for the US. It'd be interesting to see what happens with another Ranger. Who knows? We shall see. But yeah, I will catch you guys later, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.